Welcome to Legal Studies, and today we're going to be learning about the factors that affect the ability of Parliament to make law. We're up to our last factor now. When thinking about how good is Parliament at making law, today we're going to be looking at the various restrictions that we've placed on the lawmaking powers of Parliament. And this is all coming from the Constitution, and you would have learned this in our previous area of study. So, as with all of these factors, first of all, you need to be able to define what are these restrictions that we're going to talk about, and then you're going to need to be able to talk about how do they help or hinder Parliament when they're making law. So, these are the various restrictions that we already learned about in our last area of study. These are the things we've written in the Constitution that can prevent Parliament from making law. And here they are here. We learned, one of the things we learned is that there are a number of sections that put limits on the Commonwealth Parliament. For example, or the state parliaments. For example, the Commonwealth Parliament is allowed to make an army, but the states are not. The Commonwealth Parliament is allowed to create money or to create currency, but the states are not. So these are two clear restrictions on the lawmaking powers of the states. They are not allowed to make laws about those two topics. We also learned about the express rights. So, for example, Section 116 provides for freedom of religion, which means the Commonwealth Parliament is not allowed to make laws that's going to violate that. Same thing with Section 117, freedom from discrimination against residents of a particular state. Another protection, another way in which the Constitution limits what sorts of laws the Commonwealth Parliament can make. We learned about the idea of residual powers. We know that the states get the residual powers, and the Commonwealth Government is not allowed to make laws in those areas. So things like public education, public transport, hospitals, roads, these are given to the state governments, and that means that the Commonwealth Government is not allowed to make laws in those areas. We've also got Section 128, which is about referendums, which tells us that Parliament cannot change the Constitution unless they have a referendum first. So again, putting a restriction on the types of laws Parliament is allowed to make. And in any of these examples here, if Parliament does the wrong thing, if it violates any of these restrictions, someone can take it to the High Court, and the High Court is able to declare those laws invalid. Right? So this is one of the clearer ways by which we sort of hinder the lawmaking of Parliament. We put a number of really clear restrictions on what they're allowed to do in our Constitution. And that's it for today. See you next time.